I discovered the true purpose of life through a heart-wrenching loss that changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was heavy, as if the sky itself knew the weight of our grief. I remember the blue of the morning, bright and beautiful, clashing with the black clouds swirling inside me. It was the day I lost my brother, Lucas. In the midst of uncertainty, I clung to hope. Lucas was my partner in crime, my laughter in quiet moments. The world seemed dimmer without him, almost suffocating. We used to play video games for hours, competing over silly things, shouting at the screen, while our mom screamed for us to turn it down. Now, silence consumed my room. Despite all the screams, it was the silence that screamed the loudest, echoing through my empty heart that I often replayed our last moment together. A casual hug, a carefree smile. How could I have known it would be goodbye? The police knocked on our door that night with their tired eyes and heavy hearts. Their words felt like ice, slipping through my fingers as I tried to grasp their meaning, my thoughts shattering. Lucas gone. Just like that. My breath caught in my throat, a lump forming like a storm cloud. I stood frozen, trembling in disbelief while the world spun around me, days turned into a blur. I rushed from one moment to the next, searching for answers but finding only questions. Why him? Why now? The walls of our home felt like they were closing in, each room soaked in memories. I felt trapped in a maze of grief. Friends and family tried to comfort me, their faces flickering between sympathy and confusion. I was surrounded but utterly alone, drowning in a sea of sorrow that seemed bottomless. Then came the dreams. Vivid, haunting. I saw him smiling behind the old oak tree, waving, urging me to join him in his endless game. I thought it was a cruel twist of fate. Was he trying to tell me something? Each night I woke up gasping, my heart racing, desperate to reach back into those moments. Nobody understood. Not my mother, who buried herself in routines to avoid the pain. Not my friends, who kept their distance, unsure how to approach the elephant in the room. And then it happened. One rainy afternoon, while I sat staring at the wall, I found an old notebook under my bed. Filled with Lucas' scribbles, thoughts, dreams. Words leapt off the page, alive, breathing life back into my grief-soaked soul. That's when I realized this was more than just loss. It was a gateway to discovering who he truly was and who I could become. I began to see little signs, symbols he left behind, urging me to find my own purpose through his memory, but what did that truly mean? Was I meant to carry his light, or was it something deeper? I felt threads of destiny weaving through the tapestry of my life, connecting sorrow and inspiration. But, as dawn broke over my thoughts, I still felt lost, adrift. What was the next move? How could I honor a life that had vanished before my eyes? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days dragged on, each one bowing under the weight of remembrance. Every corner of the house bore witness to the absence, the hollowness reverberating within its walls. Some days were worse than others, mornings when the sun gleamed brightly, mocking the shadows that rested heavily in my heart. It felt like I was carrying a ghost, a specter of sorrow that whispered reminders of Lucas in every thought. Yet, amidst this perpetual cycle of grief, one moment caught me off guard. At a family gathering a few weeks after the funeral, I found myself seated at a long table, food piled on plates, laughter escaping from mouths that had forgotten the taste of loss. It was meant to be a healing moment, but instead, it felt like an invasion. I sat quietly, observing the flickers of joy that sometimes turned to glances of sympathy aimed in my direction. As if sensing my withdrawal, an unexpected voice broke the bubble of noisy. A small girl named Ella, my cousin's daughter. She couldn't have been more than 5, her innocence radiant like a beam of sunlight. She ambled over to me, her small hands gripping a stuffed rabbit tightly. "Hi," she said, eyes wide with curiosity and a hint of something deeper, perhaps a recognition of my sorrow. "Hi there," I replied, forcing a smile, unsure of how to interact with someone so untouched by the world's harsh realities. "Is your brother gone?" she asked, her voice lilting in a way that only a child's could. Something tight in my chest felt like it had just unraveled. Her innocence seemed to cloak the question in a sense of safety. "Yes, he is," I answered carefully. "But he was very special, and I loved him very much." Ella nodded, as if processing a serious thought. Then, with a sudden spark, she held out her rabbit. "This is Mr. Fluffy. He's my friend. He always listens when I'm sad." She met my gaze with earnestness, her big eyes mirroring a type of understanding that transcended words. You could borrow him if you want. He helps." In that moment, I realized how willingly she had reached out, offering solace from a place untouched by my turmoil. Tears pricked my eyes, not from the weight of my grief, but from the warmth of unexpected kindness. I declined her offer but accepted her smile, feeling a tiny flutter of hope in the midst of my storm. That evening, I crept back to my room, the notebook still resting beneath my bed. I opened it, the familiar scent of pages filled with his thoughts washing over me. Lucas had always found ways to create joy in mundane moments. He wrote about dreams of adventures, of places he'd never been, but longed to see. Each entry seemed more like a call to arms than a record of wishes wanted to experience life, and now here I was, weighed down by my own loss, clinging to memories instead of embracing life. But as I hovered over his last scribbled note, something shifted. It was full of questions and desperate for answers, a riddle he had yet to solve. The ink still held remnants of his laughter, a ghostly echo of the dreams we had shared. It sparked a flicker of determination in me. Perhaps this wasn't merely about grappling with loss, maybe it was about reawakening the dreams he couldn't chase alone. Driven by that sudden sense of purpose, I decided to take a step forward. I'd honor him not just through grieving but by living, exploring those adventures we never embarked on together. However, even as that decision ignited something within, an unexpected weight surfaced. What if I failed him? What if in trying to honor Lucas, I lost myself even more? The question haunted me as I drifted into sleep that night, uneasiness weighing heavily in the air. When morning came, the sunlight streamed through my window, bathing my room in warmth. A strange urgency filled me, the need to take action pressing down like a hand on my shoulder. Just as I was beginning to gather my thoughts, a message pinged on my phone. The words bore the name I hadn't expected to see: Alex, Lucas' best friend. It was a simple note that read, "We need to talk. It's about Lucas." A chill ran through me, every nerve on high alert. Remembering Alex's troubled eyes during the funeral, I wondered what more he could unveil about Lucas that I didn't already know. Nothing could prepare me for what came next, and even though my heart thrummed with a mix of fear and anticipation, the pull of discovery drew me in. What secret did Alex carry, and how would it unravel the fragile stitching of my already frayed reality? The day felt heavy as I read Alex's text over and over, each repetition sinking into my mind like a stone in water. What could possibly warrant a conversation so urgent? Every scenario played out in my head, each one more daunting than the last. I was unsteady on my feet, teetering between dread and an unquenchable curiosity about my brother's life, the parts one hadn't been privy to. And would these revelations help me find solace, or would they deepen the chasm of despair? I decided to meet Alex at a small cafe down the road, the kind where sunlight streamed through the windows, bathing everything in golden warmth, a cruel contrast to the turbulent emotions swirling within me. I arrived early, my heart pounding with apprehension. The vibrant chatter around me seemed to emphasize my solitude, a coffee cup warmed in my hands that felt like a flimsy shield against the oncoming storm. When Alex walked in, he looked much like I remember Etisled hair, a thoughtful frown etched deep into his brow. He spotted me, and for a moment, there was a flicker of understanding that passed between us, one forged in shared loss. Without wasting time, he settled into the chair across from me, the weight of conversation hanging heavy in the air. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly, his gaze locked onto mine as if searching for the right words. The silence that followed felt like a chasm, filled with unspoken grief. "Of course," I replied, the word feeling inadequate as it left my lips. "What did you want to talk about?" There was a pause, the space between us thrumming with tension. "It's about Lucas. I found something." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small envelope, its edges worn, the handwriting on the front unmistakably Lucas, though the scrawling felt painfully foreign in my grasp. "What is this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper as I accepted the envelope, my fingers trembling slightly. "His journal. Well, part of it. He wrote about things he was going through, stuff I didn't realize was happening until it was too late," Alex said, his voice cracking. "He struggled with a lot more than he let on." I felt the sting of betrayal wash over me, hot and sharp. Lucas had always been the buoyant one, the brother who lit up a room despite his own shadows. If he was suffering, why hadn't he confided in me? Had I failed him by not seeing the darker undercurrents beneath his laughter? I opened the envelope with cautious fingers, and a slip of paper fell out, longer than I'd anticipated. The words danced in front of me, each one a painful reminder of the burden Lucas had carried in silence. "Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning in expectations, in the pressure to be happy," I read aloud, the ink smudging under tears I hadn't realized I was shedding. I looked up, seeking comfort in Alex's eyes but finding only deep regret reflecting back at me. "Why didn't he tell me?" "He didn't want you to worry. He thought he could deal with it on his own." "I didn't know either, not until I found these," Alex said, his own eyes brimming with unshed tears. As I continued to read, snippets of Lucas' thoughts spilled into my consciousness. He wrote about dreams unfulfilled, about crushing loneliness masked by joviality, of a spiraling fight against an invisible enemy. Each line peeled back layers of my brother I had never known existed. The ache of love and loss intertwined with the profoundly lonely knowledge that I had been so close yet so far from his true self. Suddenly, the weight of the conversation shifted. Lucas' struggles were not just his, they were ours, a family burden that now lay heavy on my back. My heart began to race with thoughts of what this meant for me. This was not just a revelation, it was a call to action. What if uncovering Lucas' truth could illuminate my path forward, guide me toward understanding the depth of life had longed for, while grappling with his absence? Were there others? I blurted out, the fear creeping back into my voice like shadows at twilight. "I mean, did he talk to anyone else about these feelings? Did he seek help?" Alex shook his head, devoid of solace. "No, at least not that I know of. He wanted to fight his battles alone. I wish I had been more aware. I wish I could have saved him." A silence enveloped us, thick and suffocating. I felt the gravity of our shared failure compressing the air around us. But just as despair threatened to swallow me whole, Ella's bright smile flickered back to mind, her innocent generosity a ribbon of hope in a sea of sorrow. "Lucas wanted to experience life," I murmured, the realization hitting me squarely. "He encouraged me to do the same. If I find a way to honor his memory, to unravel his hidden truth, maybe I can also find clarity for myself, for us." Alex nodded slowly, a light of understanding igniting in his eyes. Maybe that's what he wanted all along, two friends fighting for understanding together. But just as a thread of determination started to weave through my grief and guilt, another text flashed on my phone. A number I didn't recognize, a message that read, "I know something about your brother. We need to talk." The words rang like a bell, reverberating in my mind, the cliff of reality I was teetering on suddenly feeling much more precarious. Every instinct screamed at me to resist further revelations, yet an unquenchable thirst for clarity propelled my heart forward. Who was this mysterious messenger? What more was there to uncover about the brother I thought I knew? The air crackled around me, heavy with the promise of hidden truths, as I reluctantly weighed the decision to dive deeper into the enigma of Lucas' life and perhaps unearth pieces of myself that had been obscured in the chaos of loss. The cafe's warmth felt in stark contrast to the chill that gripped me as I stared at the screen, my mind racing with questions. Who was this person? How did they know anything about Lucas that we didn't? The text was both an invitation and a warning, a doorway that could lead to further heartache or, perhaps, a sliver of understanding. I need to take this, I said, standing up abruptly, my chair scraping against the wooden floor. Alex's brow furrowed in concern. Wait, are you sure? He asked, embodying the apprehension that mirrored my own. I nodded, though uncertainty churned in my gut. As I stepped outside, the bright sunlight felt almost blinding after the dimness of the cafe. The world around me moved languidly while my heart raced, each step a reminder that I was about to plunge deeper into the unknown. I found a quiet corner where I could pace, the tantalizing text still flashing at me like a beacon. Taking a deep breath, I finally replied, my fingers trembling. Who is this? What do you know about my brother? Seconds crawled by, the silence stretching painfully until my phone vibrated against my palm. Meet me at Riverside Park, near the old willow. I promise it's important. I didn't want to go. The very idea of confronting another stranger who held pieces of Lucas' life felt overwhelming. But the pull of curiosity and the glimmer of possible truths pushed me forward. It felt as if every decision in that moment would shape both my understanding of my brother and my own sense of self. Alex, he'll be back soon, I called over my shoulder as I stepped away. He nodded, looking worried but resigned, as if he could sense that whatever lay ahead was something I needed to face alone. Riverside Park wasn't far, but each step was weighted with memories of afternoons spent there, the laughter shared, careless picnics with Lucas, the whispered secrets in the shade of the willow tree that now loomed ahead. I could hardly breathe as I neared, the branches stretching like arms, beckoning me into a moment fraught with tension. When I finally spotted someone perched on a bench beneath the tree, a rush of anxiety twisted my stomach. It was a young woman, her long hair cascading like a waterfall of dark silk, with sadness etched into the very features of her face. I approached cautiously, my heart pounding against my ribs. I asked, the tremor in my voice betraying my nerves. She looked up, her eyes brimming with tears. You're Lucy, right? Lucas' sister? I nodded, my throat tight. What do you know about him? Jay swallowed hard, casting her gaze downward as if the ground held answers. I was a friend of his. A close one. He never told you about me, did he? A fresh wave of confusion crashed over me. No, I didn't even know he had friends beyond Alex. Part of me felt an inexplicable jealousy bubble up, jagged and bitter, but I pushed it aside, focusing on what mattered. What do you know? Her chin trembled as she took a deep breath, fighting back tears. Lucas was scared. Scared of everything, the expectations, the way life seemed to spin away from him. He felt trapped in a world where he had to play a role he could no longer inhabit. And you? I pressed, needing to understand the connection they had shared. That I was there for him, but I didn't know he was suffering. He had put on that smile, but I could sense something was off. I wish I had pushed harder to reach him, to show him he wasn't alone. The word struck me like arrows, finding the chinks in my armor. Did you too? Was there something more? She hesitated, then whispered, yes. We had something special. But he kept so much from me. The weight of her loss filled the space between us. It was a raw, aching grief, shared between strangers tied together by love and loss. My heart ached for Jay, for the heartbreak she felt, and yet I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there was more. Did he talk about seeking help? About his struggles? Jay's gaze met mine, flickering with a glimmer of pain. He mentioned feeling like he couldn't breathe under the weight of it all. I told him he could talk to me, but she trailed off, shaking her head in disbelief. He always brushed it off. I didn't know how to break through. Her words gripped me tightly, pulling me back to the depths of my own sorrow. I felt as if we were sharing a torrent of grief, spiraling downward together. And now what? What do we do with what is left of him? Jay looked at me, and in that moment, amidst shared heartbreak, a flicker of resilience ignited. Maybe we honor him, together. We dig deeper into the corners of his life he kept hidden. Maybe he wanted us to understand not just him, but ourselves. I nodded, uncertain but willing to try. But how? Where do we start? As if sensing the weight of my questions, Jay reached into her bag, pulling out a small notebook. He used to write things down, sketches, thoughts, plans. I think there are pieces of his heart in here. We can't bring him back, but we might find a way to carry him forward. As she handed the notebook to me, a torrent of hope washed over me, swirling alongside despair. I opened it, and the familiar handwriting, scrawled across pages, brought Lucas back to me in a way I hadn't anticipated, but just as the first inkling of understanding began to unfurl in my heart, another message pinged on my phone, breaking the fragile silence. This one was from Alex. You need to come back. There's something else. Something I found in Lucas. Things. My pulse quickened, the weight of these revelations pressing upon me in waves. Here we were, on the precipice of something profound, and yet it felt like I was losing ground with each passing moment. What had Alex discovered? What new truth awaited me? The air shimmered around us, charged with the promise of both revelations and heartache as I turned to Jay with a resolve fueled by love and loss. I will find a way to honor him. I just hope the shadows don't swallow me whole in the process. As the leaves rustled above us, it became clear. The journey was only beginning, and the answers I sought might illuminate the darkest corners of my soul, or plunge me further into uncertainty. The drive back to the cafe felt endless, each second stretching between the thrill of discovery and the weight of a new burden. My heart thrummed in my chest, a chaotic rhythm echoing a mix of dread and anticipation. The notebook lay open on my lap, the pages fluttering with memories I wasn't sure I was ready to confront. Lucy. Alex's voice cut through the cafe's hum as I stepped inside, his anxious eyes scanning my face. What happened? Are you okay? I took a deep breath, forcing my racing thoughts into some semblance of order before speaking. I met Jay. She knew Lucas in ways I didn't. She has his notebook. My heart sank again as I thought of all the secrets it held, those pieces of him I had yet to discover. His notebook? Alex's brow furrowed, a hint of concern mixing with curiosity. What did she say? I felt the weight of my emotions swell again, the sadness, the confusion. He was suffering. He felt trapped and scared, Alex. I can't believe I didn't see it. I fought to hold back tears. He never let on, never said a word. And that woman, she cared for him deeply. I don't know what to do with that knowledge, how to feel. Alex reached out, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. It's a lot, Lucy. You're allowed to feel all of it. Whatever comes next, we face it together. His kindness washed over me, a brief balm against the raw ache inside. Yet, another ping from my phone broke the moment. I pulled it out, finding a new text from Jay. Please be careful. Lucas was involved in things I don't fully understand. There are pieces I didn't uncover. I think he was reaching out for help in ways we didn't recognize. My heart sank anew, a cold fear creeping into my thoughts. What did she mean by that? Involved in things? I turned the phone in my hand, trying to decipher the implications behind her words. Lucy? Alex's voice was taut, a thread of worry woven through his tone. What is it? I shook my head, feeling the ground beneath me shift. There's more. She warned me about things Lucas was involved in. Things we might not have known. As I processed the revelation, the fear settled in my bones. What if there are forces out there that influenced him? What if we're not just losing him to grief, but something more sinister? Hey, Alex took my hand firmly, his grip grounding me. We don't know anything yet. Jay could be mistaken. It's a lot for any of us to process. We need to focus on what we can control in Lucas' words and what he left behind. Together, I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. It felt lonely yet comforting in the same breath. The trepidation returned as I looked at the notebook. The pages fluttered as if beckoning me to delve into Lucas' thoughts, to pry open the heartache and understanding he had written down. "I just don't know if I'm ready, you won't have to face it alone," he assured me. "Why don't we go somewhere quiet? We can sit down and go through it together." The warmth of his support bolstered my resolve. "Okay. Let's find a spot." We settled at a small bench a few blocks away, under the pretense of calm, as the reality of our situation loomed. The notebook lay heavy between us, and with a shared nod, I opened it. The first page contained sketches of landscapes, depictions of life, laughter, and love, all things that reminded me of the Lucas I cherished. Underneath, scribbled notes began to appear, haphazard and vulnerable. "That I want to be better," one line read. "I feel like him disappearing." My heart twisted at his raw honesty. "He wanted to fight," I murmured. "But he didn't know how. Or maybe he thought fighting was pointless." Alex offered gently, his eyes scanning the page as his free hand squeezed mine, an unspoken vow of solidarity. I flipped further into the pages, encountering fragments of poetry intertwined with drawings, captures of moments seemingly insignificant, woven together to create a tapestry of emotions. The richness of his spirit was palpable, yet saturated with despair. "That's beautiful," Alex commented, tracing his finger over a particularly poignant sketch of a willow tree, reminiscent of where we had just been. "It's like..." He was searching for help in symbols and metaphors, I said, my voice catching in my throat as I turned to the next. A series of faces, each one more distorted than the last. "But what are these faces?" I whispered, the knot in my stomach tightening. What were they hiding? "Maybe they represent things he couldn't share," Alex suggested, leaning in closer. "Fears he buried." I scoured the pages, each line resonating with emotions I couldn't fully articulate, until a sharp gasp escaped my lips. Buried in the back of the notebook, a handwritten note caught my attention, its words heavy with foreboding. "If something happens to me, I want you to know it wasn't your fault. I loved you more than I can say." I trembled as the reality hit me like a tidal wave, wiping away the fragile understanding I had been drafting. This makes it feel like he knew something was going to happen, like he was preparing us for a goodbye." "Lucy," Alex whispered, his face a mask of concern. "We might be looking too deep into this." "No," I insisted, a melting sense of dread mixed with determination igniting within me. "This isn't just about us mourning him. There was something going on that he wasn't able to share. Something he needed to tell us." A silence descended, thick and taut, before Alex spoke again. "Then uncover it. Whatever shadows he was contending with, follow the threads he left behind." As I closed the notebook, its weight seemed to press against my ribs, suffocating yet liberating. Wherever Lucas had disappeared to, wherever his heart and mind had wandered, there was still hope entwined in his words. But as we began to discuss the next steps, my phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with a number I didn't recognize. A sense of foreboding filled me as I swiped to answer, steeling myself for whatever followed. "Hello? Lucy?" The voice on the other end was distorted, a shadowy echo of familiarity. "You have to stop looking. They know you're searching." The world around me began to blur, an unsettling chill weaving into my thoughts as the implications of the words sank in. What had Lucas done to attract attention? And who were they? My gaze met Alex, disbelief and fear mirrored in his expression. I'd been told that some journeys take you deeper into shadows, but I had never imagined the truth that lay ahead could stretch beyond mere heartbreak. The quest to honor Lucas had just become a perilous endeavor, and as uncertainty loomed like a storm, I felt as if I was standing at the edge of a precipice, teetering between love and danger. The wind picked up, swirling around us with an unsettling intensity. I couldn't shake off the feeling that the voice on the other end of the call was not merely a warning but a warning laced with urgency, something clawing at the back of my mind, urging me to listen. "Lucy?" Alex's voice broke through the haze of confusion. "What did they say?" I inhaled sharply, still clutching the phone, the unsettling message echoing endlessly in my thoughts. They told me to stop looking. That someone is watching us. My voice trembled with realization, the cold grip of fear wrapping tightly around my chest. Alex's grip tightened around my hand, anchoring me. We're not going to let fear control us, he said, determination flooding his tone. We need to piece this together. For Lucas' sake. His words filled me with resolve, yet a flicker of doubt persisted. What if we were unearthing forces that were intended to remain buried? The thought sent shivers down my spine. As the dusk crept in, shadows lengthened, and the cafe's warm glow began to fade into the distance. Let's go back to Jay, I suggested, feeling a spark of urgency to confront the only other person connected to Lucas's hidden struggles. She might have more answers, are you sure that's wise? Alex hesitated, his brow furrowing. What if she's involved somehow? Right now, she's our only lead, I replied, an unsettling mix of trust and doubt swirling within me. The clarity of my decision felt both profound and foolish. I had to know, to dig deeper, no matter how treacherous the path became. Okay, Alex nodded, a hint of concern written across his face. Just promise me you'll be careful. I promised him, though the knot inside me grew taut with each moment that passed. As we walked back to the cafe where Jay had first encountered Lucas' story, a dim halo of light illuminated the path, reminiscent of clearer days. I clutched the notebook tightly, feeling its weight mirror the burden of unspooling secrets. When we arrived at the cafe's entrance, I noticed a figure wrapped in a dark coat near the back, peering outside as if waiting. My heart raced. Is that Jay? We approached cautiously, the air between us thick with anticipation, and as the figure turned, I didn't recognize her at first. The woman's eyes were hollow, haunted by the shadows of her own past. I thought you wouldn't come back, Jay said, her voice barely above a whisper, echoing the despondence reflected in her gaze. Why? I pressed, a mix of anger and fear flooding my veins. What do you know that you're not telling us? I told you to be careful, she muttered, glancing around as if the walls themselves held ears. There are things you don't understand. The notebook, it's not just thoughts, it's a blueprint for conflict, a way to dig into something that can destroy you. I can't just walk away, I insisted, my pulse quickening. Lucas' world is part of me now. I need to know why he felt trapped, why he pulled away. Because there are forces larger than his pain, thoughts that go beyond your understanding, she warned, her tone grave. Things that were woven into his life, into his very essence. You're not just looking for answers, you're inviting chaos. People are searching. They want to silence him and you. Fear twisted my stomach, but buried beneath it was a yearning for truth. We have to search and decipher it, I insisted, allowing my emotions to push through the walls I had built. What was he trying to protect? In the moments that followed, Jay hesitated, swallowing hard as the weight of her decisions rendered her momentarily speechless. If you find the truth, will you be able to walk away from it? Her question hung in the air, taunting and terrifying. What do you mean? I challenged her, desperate to absorb her words. Lucas was brave to question, to seek meaning beyond the mundane. But the more you dig, the darker it becomes. You risk losing yourselves just like he did. Then how can I stop? I felt vulnerability seep into my bones, exposing my deepest fears as a wave of desperation washed over me. Maybe you aren't meant to stop, she whispered, her gaze flickering with an unsettling hint of regret. Maybe you're meant to push through to fight the shadows. But be wary, Lucy, the darkness is relentless. With a heavy heart, I felt the conversation weighing down on my soul. We were spiraling into something beyond our grasp, yet the quest for answers vibrated like a live wire within me. I opened my mouth to reply, to propel the conversation further, but the ringing of my phone interrupted, shattering my thoughts. As I glanced at the screen, my heart dropped. It was a message from an unknown number. My fingers shook as I opened it. You're in over your head. Help will not find you if you don't stop. Choose wisely. Alex's concerned expression deepened as he caught a glimpse of my face, the pulse of dread returning to my chest in full force. "What's the matter?" he asked urgently, already fearing the answer. "Another warning," I replied, shaking my head, unable to comprehend the gravity of what we were unearthing. Jay took a step closer, her gaze fixated on me, eyes wide with emotion. "You are not alone in this. Just remember, the deepest truths often come at the heaviest cost." A storm was brewing within me, twisting and turning as dread and determination collided. The push for answers was more potent than my fear. The certainty that something dark lingered in the depths of Lucas' memory pulled me closer to the edge. Yet, as a chilling realization crept in, I couldn't shake the suspicion that someone was closer than we realized, the shadows absorbing our every breath. Would we find the answers hidden in his pain, or would we open a door that could never close? Time felt suspended as I glanced between Alex and Jay, the depth of the unknown gnawing at the edges of my resolve. I was about to plunge deeper, digging into the heart of a tragedy that could change everything, ever aware that the truth might not welcome me back. The cafe, once a sanctuary filled with laughter and warmth, now felt like a cage, the dim glow of its lights casting long shadows that danced with secrets and unspoken fears. My heart pounded in my chest, its rhythm echoing the urgency of the moment. I could sense the heaviness in the air, a palpable tension drawing us ever closer to a brink I could neither identify nor understand. "Lucy, we need to be cautious," Alex interjected, his voice low yet charged with an intensity one could only mirror. "This is becoming more serious than we anticipated." "Caution is all we have," Jay said quietly, her tone even more somber than before. "But with every step you take toward the truth, know that you're also stepping into danger." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their scrutiny, my own fear reflected in their eyes. "What danger?" I asked, an unsteady edge creeping into my voice. "What are we really dealing with?" Jay's demeanor shifted slightly, as if struggling with a decision. The aura of uncertainty surrounded her, and I felt the atmosphere thicken. "We're caught in a cycle, Lucy. Lucas' past holds scars that are alive and breathing. There are people tied to his story, dark entities ready to strike if they feel threatened." Her cryptic warning resonated deep within me, the chilling implication settling in my gut like lead. Was it just paranoia, or was something lurking in the shadows, keenly aware of our pursuit? I felt a looming sense of dread, but the urgency to know, to uncover the truth, crowded out my fear. "Then tell us what we need to know," I urged, desperation creeping into my voice. "You know something, Jay. You have to help us navigate this." For a fleeting moment, her expression softened. "Some truths can't be unwoven without consequences." She took a hesitant breath, glancing once more out into the darkening street, as if it contained answers we weren't yet ready to uncover. "Lucas wasn't doing this alone," she finally confessed, her voice trembling with hesitation. "He was involved with people groups that believe they can speak to the beyond, that they can channel the pain of those who have left us. He wanted to understand, to heal. But in trying to unravel pain, he found something much darker." I felt a rock settle in my stomach. "What kind of groups?" "Secretive ones," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "They play with forces beyond human comprehension, intertwining their lives with those who sought solace, but often finding despair instead." Alex shifted closer, his protective instincts kicking into high gear. "And they're still active?" His gaze embedded itself into Jay's, searching for the confirmation that would link all the fragmented puzzle pieces together. She nodded, the shadow of uncertainty looming. "They left clues, patterns to their madness, trails that Lucas was following. But he was warned to stay away. He never heeded the warning. Which is why we're here now," I stated, struggling to hold on to the flicker of hope that urged me onward. "We may be able to understand what he uncovered, possibly help others who are lost. But we have to dive in." Jay recoiled slightly, her fear palpable. "Just know, to seek the truth means to face the darkness head-on. Not everyone emerges unscathed." My resolve flickered but did not extinguish. If there's a chance, no matter how small, to bring light to Lucas Payne, then I must follow it. As I spoke, a noise rustled from outside the cafe, causing us all to freeze. The door swung open with a creak, and a figure cloaked in shadow stepped inside, their presence instantly chilling the atmosphere. The breath hitched in my throat as I felt an otherworldly energy spill into the room, a shift that sent goosebumps racing across my skin. "Excuse me," the figure said, their voice smooth yet laced with an eerie familiarity. "I couldn't help but overhear your discussion." "Who are you?" Alex demanded, taking a protective stance in front of me and Jay. The shadows cloaked the figure's features, but a sense of undeniable calm washed over me. Someone who understands the consequences of looking too deeply into the past. The weight of those words pressed on my chest. "What do you know?" I asked, my voice firm with conviction laced with caution. "More than you would care to embrace," the figure replied, stepping closer, their silhouette becoming clearer. "I was part of his world before he spiraled down. And now your search threatens to unravel something more daunting than the truth. It could awaken what lies beneath." A flicker of recognition ignited within me. "Lucas knew you?" "Yes. And he wasn't the only one drawn in." The figure paused, searching my eyes for something unnameable. "He wanted to break free, but that darkness, it doesn't yield easily. Are you prepared to face what that will entail?" I looked at Alex, whose expression mirrored my turmoil. This was not just a journey for answers but an invitation for something greater. The unknown whispered promises and threats in equal measure. My heart raced as I understood the daunting chasm between knowledge and the cost it demanded. "Lucy, we should go," Alex urged, pulling me away from the figure. But I felt roots digging into the ground, a yearning to grasp what was tethered to Lucas' story, even if it meant walking into the eye of a storm. "That I am not leaving," I said, my heart pounding with fierce determination. "I will stand my ground to understand what drove Lucas to the edge." The figure's lips curled into a knowing, sorrowful smile, a flicker of sympathy in their gaze. "Then prepare yourself, because once you step into this darkness, it is relentless, and there's always a price to pay." With a very real sense of peril looming in the air, the cafe, surrounded by night's embrace, felt like a sanctuary and a trap all at once. I was teetering along the precipice of a truth that could extinguish my light or forever shift the narrative of my life. As I stood resolute, the world around me changed, my soul probing deeper into the obscured corners of loss, truth, and the shadows that wished to consume it all. Would I emerge victorious or drown within the shadows intent on destruction? The answers awaited, lurking just beyond reach, daring me to take the first step into the abyss. The moment hung suspended, a delicate balance between courage and terror as I stood firm, the shadowy figure almost daring me to turn away. Every instinct screamed at me to retreat, yet the flicker of determination blazed brighter within me. I could feel Alex's protective presence beside me, grounding me, but the urgency to press forward overshadowed all else. "What's your name?" I steadied my voice, demanding to pull more from this stranger cloaked in uncertainty. "Call me Caleb," he replied, the name falling from his lips like an echo from a distant memory. "And it's too late for caution now, Lucy. You've already stirred the darkness just by seeking." Jay shifted nervously, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her sweater. "Caleb, what do you mean? What happens next?" He regarded her for a moment, a heaviness in his gaze that seemed to relay a warning I could scarcely comprehend. "The more you uncover, the more connections you will reveal, threads that link to old scars, to intentions that should have stayed buried." Lucas was searching to heal, but sometimes healing is a mask for deeper wounds. As his words unfurled into the atmosphere, I found myself grappling with the enormity of his implication, a web of unseen connections that might ensnare us all. "And you think we're ready for that? For whatever awaits?" Caleb's eyes narrowed slightly, a softness threading through the tension. "Readiness is not a choice, it's a consequence. The question you must ask is not whether you're ready, but whether you're willing to endure." I exchanged glances with Alex and Jay, my heart racing as I wove through my thoughts. Would I still stand firm if I knew what that endurance might cost me? We're willing, Alex affirmed, placing a hand on my shoulder, his touch radiating assurance. We've come this far, and we owe it to Lucas to seek the truth. Whatever the cost. Caleb's expression flickered with an emotion I couldn't decipher, perhaps regret or a wistfulness for battles fought and lost. Then you must tread carefully. There are forces at play that do not fear your resolve, and they won't hesitate to bring consequences down upon you. With each assurance that slipped from his lips, a chill deepened within the café. I felt a storm building, a fierce energy that would not lie dormant for long. Give us your guidance, Caleb, I insisted, my voice firm yet tinged with an undercurrent of doubt. Help us navigate this darkness. You'll need more than guidance, you'll need allies, he replied, stepping back and waving a hand in invitation. Come with me. There are places where the whispers of the past guide the lost, where you might find what you seek. And just like that, the kaleidoscope of the mundane transformed. I could now see beyond the café's four walls into a world filled with darkness thickening around the edges. The air felt electric, pulsating with dangers I could barely perceive. As we stepped outside, shadows danced in the corners of my vision. The streets echoed the tension within me, each hushed conversation and distant siren a reminder of the secrets begging to be unearthed. A small flicker of hope ignited in the pit of my stomach. Perhaps our pursuit had allies hidden in plain sight, people who could help us navigate this labyrinth of pain and healing. Where are we going? Jay asked, her voice threading through the uncertainty that permeated the city's night. To a place where the veil is thin, Caleb explained, his tone resolute. A gathering of souls seeking understanding, a meeting point for those entangled in Lucas' story farther than you've ever ventured. As we moved toward our destination, a moment of kindness broke through the tension when an old man, sitting alone on a bench, offered a dim smile and greeted us warmly. Be careful, young ones. The night holds secrets that can echo for a lifetime. His eyes glimmered with an ancient wisdom that struck a chord deep within me. Thank you, I whispered, surprisingly reassured by his acknowledgement, a reminder that amidst the darkness, there were those aware of the struggles, who carried parallels of their own. Caleb led us down winding streets cloaked in shadow, the weight of my purpose tethered to the unknown. I felt the thrum of energy vary around us, shifting like the breathing of the city itself, alive, but painted in unsettling hues. When we finally arrived at a dilapidated building draped in vines, it felt like a threshold between realms. My heart raced in tandem with my thoughts. This step was deeper than I had climbed before, a leap off a cliff into the abyss of Lucas' world. Are you ready? Caleb's voice broke through my thoughts, steady and somber, as the weight of expectation loomed. I inhaled sharply, feeling the ground beneath me pulse with anticipation and fear. What awaits inside? Answers, he said simply, his gaze piercing through the darkness. And possibly truths you weren't prepared to uncover. With resolute determination surging within, I crossed the threshold, each step echoing the heartbeat of a journey that was no longer mine alone. As we moved inside, the air thickened, and an overwhelming scent of dampness mixed with incense enveloped us, wrapping around my senses like a shroud. A strange luminescence illuminated the room, casting an eerie glow over faces half shadowed and half revealed. There were whispers in the air, fragments of familiar names woven into prayer-like chants. Just as the gravity of where we stood threatened to crush me, a familiar name broke through the Hazia, name laden with symbol. Lucas, I breathed, the revelation sweeping through me like wildfire. Caleb's expression shifted, the urgency once more flickering in his eyes. It begins now, Lucy. Do you still wish to delve into those shadows? I took a breath, feeling the edges of my certainty fray. But before I could respond, a piercing shriek echoed from deeper within the building, sending shards of panic rocketing against my heart. The collective gasps from those around me merged into a swell of fear and anticipation. I cast one last glance at Alex, finding his eyes reflective pools of anxiety mixed with unwavering support. Let's go, I urged, terror and resolve igniting a new spark in my chest. It was clear now that stepping into the darkness could lead us to the light, not only for Lucas but for the unseen burdens each of us carried. As we plunged forward, the silhouette of the unknown loomed larger, and with it came questions that would seek to unravel and echo through our lives, demanding to be faced in that very moment. I knew one truth: we were on the cusp of unraveling something that could change everything if only we dared to embrace it. The twisted corridors of the dilapidated building felt like a dreamscape where reality churned and shifted, draped in the heaviness of the histories held within its walls. It was a place straddling the line between what was known and what lay cloaked in shadows. Each step carried the echo of lost voices, and I could feel the air thickening around us, charged with whispers echoing tales of sorrow and unearthing memories long since buried. "Get ready, Lucy," Caleb intoned as we moved to the source of the lingering echo, his voice a low rumble amidst the burgeoning tension. "The unraveling will come swiftly. Embrace it." Fear coiled in my stomach, threatening to pull me backwards, but the flicker of determination remained strong as Alex squeezed my hand. He radiated warmth, grounding me against the impending chaos. Jay maintained her resolve, her expression a carved mask of uncertainty and intrigue. We were all tethered to one another, our fates interlinked like an unbreakable chain. If one fell, we all fell. The anticipation hung between us, almost palpable, mingling with the incense clinging to the air. As we stepped deeper into the gathering space, a sudden hush swept over the crowd, a collective inhale holding back the weight of their own fears and expectations. My gaze danced over the faces lit by the flickering candlelight, their eyes alight with a mix of hope and despair. Somewhere within this room lay the boundaries of everything I sought to understand. Then, amidst the flicker of shadows, the shriek pierced through the stillness again, sharper this time, rendering the tension electric. "It's coming from there." I pointed toward a heavy wooden door at the back, its surface scarred with age and secrets. Caleb's posture shifted. "We have to go." He motioned us toward the door, determination lined in every crease of his brow. It felt as if we were stepping into the mouth of a beast, willingly shackled to our doubt and the past. As he pushed the door open, a rush of stale air hit us, the scent mingling with the remnants of history clinging like a veil. Hidden truths awaited, bound and sealed. Beyond was a room bathed in dim light, revealing a circular table strewn with artifacts, photographs, notes, trinkets bearing the weight of longing. In the center lay an unconcealed journal, cracked and weathered like a lifeline connecting the scattered pieces of Lucas' existence. The moment the door swung wide, a collective gasp ricocheted through the crowd, voices raised in startled recognition, tethered by the presence of memories that spiraled into a maelstrom of loss. "This isn't just about Lucas," Jay whispered in a hushed breath, realization dawning in her eyes like sunrise piercing the dawn. "It's about all of user connections and how they can unravel us." Caleb nodded solemnly, his hand reaching for the journal, hesitating as he wove his fingers through the frayed pages. "The truth is a living thing. It writhes and grows. Are you ready to confront what has been hidden in plain sight?" As his words hung in the air, an unsettling wave washed over me. Memories flooded my mind: Lucas' laugh, his wide, hopeful eyes, and the fear that seemed to tremble in every unspoken thought between us. Every connection we unravel could expose deeper wounds, could bring secrets irrevocably to the surface. I murmured, the weight of my concern spilling out alongside my breath. Underneath the din, the flickering light of the candles cast dancing shadows that whispered forgotten stories. Caleb began to read, his voice drawing us all closer, melding our collective heartbeat into a unified rhythm, a rhythm that pulsed with the echoes of ghostly remnants of laughter and tears. But suddenly, the air shifted again, thickening with an ominous tension. Heavy warning. Outside, a sound like a collision shook the very foundation of the building, a thunderous blast that echoed like a warning bell through the hidden grooves of the earth. What was that? Jay's eyes widened, panic etched in her voice, raw and exposed. Caleb's face paled beneath the glow of the candlelight as he slammed the journal shut. "It's time to leave." Now, before we could react, the atmosphere erupted. A frantic urgency filled the room, inspiring a wave of movement and confusion. Faces turned to each other in disbelief, and suddenly we were swept into a torrent of bodies, panic mounting like a storm. "Lucy." Alex's grip tightened around my hand. "We have to stick together." In the chaos, I caught fleeting glimpses of fear-stricken faces, their gazes wide with questions unasked and connections being severed. I wasn't just scared for myself, I felt the resonance of helplessness threading between each individual, intertwining like vines, holding us captive in time and space. We were on the brink of something dreadful and illuminating, positioned between understanding and chaos, but as we raced towards the exit, I felt a betrayal of my heart, a conflicting love for this place and the truths it unveiled. Just as we reached the door, another resounding crash resounded from within, louder this time, chilling the marrow in my bones. "Get out!" Caleb shouted, urgency pushing him to code red as the shadows loomed larger, a threat gathering force. At that moment, the lights flickered wildly, and darkness spilled into the edges of the room, twisting the light into misaligned shapes that morphed into menacing edges. I felt a sudden surge of dread twist inward, an unspeakable truth brewing behind the chaos, but what I didn't expect was the pulsing beat of revelation that opened inside me. It ignited a spark, an absolute insistence that I would not walk away without understanding our connection to Lucas, without revealing what lay beneath the surface. Yet as I pushed through the doorway, a figure appeared in the threshold, a silhouette backlit by the fading light. "You can't leave." A voice resonated, a voice I recognized, sending shockwaves of disbelief through me. "Lucas?" I breathed, the name tasting like ash on my tongue, uncertainty enveloping me, but there was something in his eyes, a mixture of warmth and pain, a beautiful, harrowing familiarity that felt like coming home. How could he be here? The rush of the crowd continued around me, but within this moment, this unsettling truth, everything else faded. The darkness loomed larger, shadows now holding secrets tighter than I had ever imagined. All hope and foundation beneath me felt like precarious threads ready to unravel. The impact of that momentous confrontation, so poignant it rendered me breathless, changed the fabric of our search within the chaos, and knew we had to rise to the occasion, lest we be swallowed by the darkness that sought to encase Lucas once more. "Lucy, we must go." Alex's voice yanked me from the precipice of the revelation, desperation looming behind his tone, and as I stared at Lucas' ghostly silhouette, teetering between fledgling hope and terrifying uncertainty, I knew right then that our journey had only just begun. The chaos of that moment spun around me like a tempest, unraveling my perception of reality. I sought answers, and now devastation loomed larger than life itself, yet there stood Lucas's apparition caught between darkness and light. "Lucy," he called again, his voice trembling with an urgency that felt both dreamlike and painfully real. "Lucas." I gasped, the name slipping through my lips with a desperate longing. "Is it really you?" But just as quickly as I reached for him, a wave of disbelief flooded my senses. My heart raced, tethered to the specter standing before me, an emotional quagmire straddling faith and doubt. "What's happening?" J's voice broke through the haze, her wide eyes darting from me to the figure framed in the doorway. "Is that him?" He's my words faltered as I swayed at the precipice of uncharted territory. "I think so." "Lucy." Caleb's voice shattered through, sharp as glass, grounding me in the frenzy. "We have to leave." "No." I shouted back fervently. Something deep inside me quaked with the need to understand. "This is part of it. He's here, he has to explain." "Lucas, please." But the flicker of his presence began to fade, as if the shadows around us pulled him back into their abyss. "Lucy, you must listen," he urged, desperation tugged at his words. "I wanted to protect you. I didn't want you to know what I was involved in. It was dangerous then, why did you not tell me?" Tears streamed down my cheeks, an angry mix of sorrow and love. "You left me, Lucas. You left all of us without answers. Why did you have to carry this alone?" "I thought I could navigate it, I thought I could keep you safe," he replied, his eyes glimmering with a mixture of regret and fierce love. "But the shadows took hold, they're hunting you now, seeking to destroy everything I held dear. If you keep searching, you might lose everything including your life." A breath caught in my throat as dread enveloped me like a shroud, and yet, below the darkness stirred a surge of hope. "But I can help you. We can confront whatever's chasing you. I know there are things I need to discover for you, for me." My words hung in the air, pulsating with fragile conviction. "No." He shouted, a tremor threading his voice. "You cannot. It's not worth the price." Yet even as shadows whispered, promising doom, the fierceness of love and longing gnawed at my core. I could feel everyone's eyes upon me, pulling me back, yet the weight of the truth anchored me. I can't walk away again, Lucas. I want. You inspired me to find the light through this grief, and I will carry your legacy even if it's tangled in shadows. And with that final proclamation, the ground shook. The building trembled around us, and shadows lurched with feral hunger. Lucy. Alex's voice rang clear, a tether in the rising storm. We have to go. He tugged me backward. Torn between dimensions, time swirled, bending towards the precipice of choice. I hesitated, my heart pounding against the tempest of emotion. I could feel my connection to him fraying like an ancient vine, yet I held fast to the belief that there was more to uncover. In the storm of chaos unfolding, Lucas' visage flickered. You must promise me, Lucy, you will keep your heart safe. I promise, I breathed, the weight of my words entwined with uncertainty. And then, with a final surge of light, the essence of Lucas shattered into a million glimmers before me, fading into the shadows. Remember, he whispered, his voice haunting and fervent, you carry my light now. A surge of loss overwhelmed me, ripping through the very marrow of my existence, dragging me back to the here and now. I stumbled, nearly colliding with Alex, as the urgency of the collective pulled me from the edge. Lucy. He pleaded, wrapping an arm around me, urging me forward as the darkness clawed behind us. The door burst shut behind me as I took one last glance, remnants of Lucas' light dancing in the air, like fireflies against the darkness that we forged through the chaos, hearts pounding as a resounding crash echoed through the building, solidifying my resolve. I wasn't leaving Lucas behind. Whether buried in shadows or light, I promised to keep his spirit alive, to face whatever darkness lay before us, together. In the screech of chaos, hope fluttered anew, intertwining with the rush of adrenaline. As we exited into the night, the cool air embraced me, a balm against the storm still brewing deep in my heart. If love could transcend the confines of life and death, then I held the strength to fight through the shadows for the promise of tomorrow. I turned to look at Alex and Jay, the glimmer of resilience reigniting within me. I will discover the truth, I asserted, fueled by the echo of Lucas' spirit. And I will carry us onward, even into the darkest depths. As we walked away from the turmoil of that dilapidated building, the embrace of allies washed over me, linking us together in a fight stronger than grief, stronger than despair. Each step pulsed with the promise of rediscovery, and within that promise, I grasped the most profound truth amidst it all. Unraveling the shadows of the past, we paved the path towards light. And as dawn broke sporadically with the colors of hope, I knew this journey was far from over. With renewed strength and unyielding determination, we would face whatever awaited, armed with the love of those we lost. As I gazed into the horizon, fiercely propelled by resilience and the light of Lucas weaving through me, I realized the journey was no longer just about uncovering lost secrets. It was finding our strength in the love that lived on, and that was the ultimate truth, the shining beacon I would carry forth, illuminating the way home through the darkness.